Hey everybody, welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with the miserable liberal and Ron Placone.
Howdy, howdy.
I'm miserable.
So you know what happened in California, right? So you know that the California Democratic Party cheated and installed a pharma lobbyist as their chairperson over Kimberly Ellis, who's a progressive, right? So remember what we said, the Democrats would rather lose to Republicans than let a progressive win. So Kimberly Ellis had the overwhelming support of the Democratic delegates that we elected in January, overwhelmingly progressive, Bernie-crats. We thought we were going to have our own party here in California of progressives. The people inside the party rigged the system once again. That's not an exaggeration. They rigged the system, cheated, installed a literal pharmaceutical lobbyist as the chairman of the Democratic Party. The Senate in California passed a single-payer bill. The Democratic assemblyman, the leader in the assembly, the chair of the assembly, his name is Rendon. He killed the bill. He pretends to be for single payer. He killed the bill. This guy Rendon, and he's taken more than $100,000 from Big Pharma and $50,000 from major health insurers. That's a tweet from the California nurses who are pushing single payer in California. And Rendon, who's the Speaker of the Assembly, killed it on purpose. So we talked about that, and he pretends to be for single payer. He says, I support single payer, but there's no way, this bill doesn't have a way to pay for it. So you're for single payer, you're the leader in the assembly, yet you've never thought about how to pay for the thing you're for? You've never given it a thought about what to do when a single payer bill actually gets voted on in the Senate and it comes to your desk? You never thought that through before? So if you've never thought that through before, that's because you're not really for it. And if you have thought it through before and you know how to do it and you're not implementing it now, it's because you're not really for it, because you're bought. So we know he's bought and we know he's dirty. Okay? So we know this. The Democratic Party is dirty, corrupt, to the hilt. We know this. This happened today. The entire Assembly Democrats, this is from Alex Kossoff, he writes for the Sacramento Bee, and he said that the entire Democratic caucus in the Assembly signed onto a letter denouncing, quote, adverse reactions to shelving SB 562. That's the single-payer bill. So people are really upset about it. So people are awake now in California. Remember what happened to Cory Booker when he voted against cheaper importation of drugs? Remember what happened to him? Everybody woke up and he was like, oh my God, people are paying attention now. Just like we predicted people would be paying attention, people are paying attention now. So the horrible stuff that the Democratic Party does all the time, people are now aware of. No matter what other people tell you on alternative news shows, people are awake now, just like I predicted. And now they see the rot inside the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is actually the graveyard for progressive programs. It's not the Republican Party, it's the Democratic Party, and we see why now. So now everybody's waking up to how horrible the Democrats are. In fact, that we only have one party, and it's the party of money. Just like Ralph Nader said 17 years ago when he ran against Al Gore. Okay. So here's that letter. By the way, here's from the Assembly California legislator Mike A. Gibson, Democratic caucus chair, and he's the assembly member in the 64th district. So he put this out. And according to the Sacramento Bee, every member of the Democrats caucus signed on to it. You want to know what it says? I'll read it to you. So this is it. I'm going to read it to you. This is their statement. I'm going to read it to you. In recent days, we have become alarmed. We have become alarmed and disheartened by bullying tactics, threats of violence, and death threats by a few who disagree with the decision of Speaker Anthony Rendon to postpone the advancement of SB 562. That's the bill that gives single payer to people in California. While it is appropriate for persons of varying views to express concern, disapproval or disfavor about the delay, It is never acceptable to engage in those tactics. So that's bad writing, because that those tactics doesn't refer to anything in that sentence. So that's just bad writing off the top. Secondly, that is not how we make decisions in the assembly. In a civil society, this behavior can neither be condoned nor tolerated. So they're tone policing.
It's okay if 45,000 Americans every single year die because they don't have access to health care.
But don't raise your voice about it.
Yeah, don't start posting on Facebook. Don't tweet at Anthony Rendon the truth about his record. Don't be honest in a public forum about how unhappy you are that California isn't taking care of Californians. You know what, America, you should have better manners when you're sick and dying.
I have a few questions just from the first paragraph. I mean, first of all, this is my first time seeing the actual letter. I'd heard about it, but I'm experiencing it now for the first time. So I am trying to express self-restraint because I really want to punch a wall. But
first off,
a nice studio.
I don't like your tone.
But if it's only a few, if it's just a few who disagree, why are all their voicemails full?
Right.
Why are all their voicemails full if it's just a few? Second of all, if there's bullying tactics, how would you even know that when you're instructed to hang up on people as soon as possible? Try to get rid of them if they say they're not in your district, and try to pretend like you don't know what the hell they're talking about when people call in.
So
how would you know if they're bullying?
We called Anthony Rendon's office. They pretended to not know what we were talking about, and then they hung up on us.
That's literally everyone's been saying that on Twitter too. They say you're in the district because otherwise they'll. I told them that I was a reporter calling from KPFK Los Angeles 90.7, and they still hung. And I said, "Who am I speaking with?" And the woman said, "Vanessa." And I said, "Can I get your last name?" And she said, "What do you need my last name for?" Because I'm a news person doing a news story, and I like to get the names right. And she hung up on me. That's Anthony Rendon. That's Anthony Rendon's office. Literally hanging up on reporters when they ask for people's last names so I can put it in the story. Does that sound like a Democrat to you? Does that sound like a guy who's not bought? Those people are bought, and they're corrupt to the hilt. Here's the second paragraph. The second paragraph says, "We have seen the impact of bullying in schools and now in the political arena."
I wonder if they've seen bullying in the Middle East.
I wonder if they've seen that in the Middle East. I wonder if they saw bullying at Occupy Wall Street when you crack the heads of peaceful protesters. I wonder if you've seen bullying when cops shoot unarmed people left and right, up and down the state.
So there's no bullying when you're denying access to health care? That's not bullying?
But they don't.
Well, in fairness to them, I do remember when I was in grade school, this one guy would pick on me and take my lunch money because I made it impossible for him to go see a doctor. So.
Ha!
It's not a bad analogy.
It says, we have written numerous bills. We have written numerous bills to prevent persons in school and the workplace from being harassed and bullied. This is not the type of culture we believe allows for open discourse and good decision making. This is people shitting their pants that people are finally awake. This is the corporate Democrats who are 100% corrupted and bribed, right? So they're corrupt, right? So they're criminal. And that this is them. They're found out. And now they're shitting their pants. So first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then we win. We're at the fight stage. This is them being afraid. This is them, oh my God. That's what this is.
Oh my God, I had no idea that nurses were such bullies. Because that's really what they're saying, because they're leading the fight. And thank you, nurses.
Yes.
Thank you. We love nurses.
For the past few years, California has, and this is this paragraph right here, starts right there. For the past few years, California has embraced the Affordable Care Act. That's the giveaway to big pharma and health insurance, and that's why the Democrats are fighting tooth and nail, pretending that they care about you, because saying that we're for the Affordable Care Act. For the past few years, California has embraced the Affordable Care Act with the intent of providing health care for all Americans. While we have not reached our goal, we are moving in that direction. There are many ways of achieving the goal of health care for all, included in that list of single-payer option, an idea that is embraced by many in the Assembly. Yeah, it's an idea that's embraced by many in the assembly, single payer. It's an idea that we embrace, pretend to embrace until it comes time to implement it, and then we don't, and then we wag our finger at the electorate for holding our feet to the fire. So this is those guys. They're corrupt, they're bought, they're slimy, and now they're caught. And now they don't like it. They don't like that we're holding their feet to the fire. That's what this is. Stop bullying me. They're fucking elected officials literally telling people to stop bothering them. That's how insulated they are. They think this is going to work.
Yeah, don't call them. Don't even follow what's happening in California. Don't even call your assembly representative. You know what? Don't be involved. That's really what they're saying. Don't get involved.
They're saying don't get involved.
Put your head in the sand and go get sick and die.
And also, let's look at this very broadly here. Basically, taxpayer money was just used for public officials to write a letter shaming them.
Ha!
That's what just happened.
That is what just happened.
And guess what? Anthony Rendon isn't at his office at 4 o'clock on Friday.
Nope.
Nobody is anywhere. Not even his, when I called, one of his press advisors or whoever communicates, they were unavailable. Veronica Sendejas, looking forward to hearing from you soon.
What's her name?
Veronica Sendejas.
Veronica Sendejas. Veronica Sendejas?
Yes, Veronica Sendejas.
How would you spell that? Did they tell you how they spell it?
No,
No, they wouldn't tell us how to spell anyone's last name. I did get a hold of his Rendon's press secretary in Sacramento, and he acted like a professional. He took my call and he gave me information. Isn't that funny? The people at his local district office where he lives, it was like I was calling a crack house. That's what it was like. These people were like, are you guys on drugs? Do you not know how this works? I'm a reporter calling to ask questions from the elected official. And they're like, what do you want my last name for? I go, can you tell me anybody who I can talk to who can give me their last name? Hang up on me. That's Anthony Rendon's home office. So it ends, this letter ends. This is the letter. It says,
there is a chance they just hired a bunch of temps and were like, just pick up the phone and pretend you don't know what anyone's talking about. What is this in regards to? Just don't worry about it. We pay you $10 an hour.
It says it ends this is the letter the assembly is putting out. As we move forward and continue our commitment to work toward improved health care for all Californians, we welcome ideas and discussions from those who want to find a solution. Guess who wants to find a solution? Me, the nurses, and everybody else in California. So this is dumb stuff Republicans do. And you know why Democrats are doing it now? Because they're Republicans now, because they're in bed with Big Pharma and the healthcare industry. They're bought. Our government is bought, okay? That's why you can't have nice things like the rest of the world. We have California is the 6th largest economy in the world, and you're telling me we can't pull off single payer? But France can, and Costa Rica, and Greece, and Spain, and Germany, and the UK, Norway, Denmark. Somehow all those Canada, Russia, somehow all those places can pull off single payer. But California, with the 6th largest economy in the world, somehow can't do it. And the Democratic leader, Rendon, says he's for single payer, but he doesn't know how to, because he's lying. So this is called, so when you see Keith Olbermann doing a thing about Donald Trump being a Russian, you know that that's a guy who's out of his mind and a millionaire maniac who has no connection to regular people. That's Keith Olbermann. And that's all those maniacs who are doing Mick resistance, pretending like Trump is the problem. Trump is not the problem. Democrats are the problem. They've always been the problem. That's why we got Trump. So I called Anthony Rendon's office, his local office. They hang up on you and they won't tell you their name, like you're calling a crack house. What's the woman who you were waiting for to call back?
I believe Veronica Sendejas is going to be calling me back because I want some more information.
Veronica Sendejas. So then I called his office up in Sacramento, and I talked to his press secretary, Kevin.
Lau.
Yes. And Kevin gave me some information. In fact, the assemblyman had not signed on to this. That's according to his office. Even though the Sacramento Bee is reporting it as every member of the assembly signed on to this, that's according to the reporting from the Sacramento Bee. I called his office in Sacramento. His press secretary, Kevin Lau, said he didn't sign on to it, and he sent me this statement from the assemblyman. Here's his statement. There's been a variety of reactions to my decision to hold SB 562 from supportive to quite negative. That's the reactions have been from supportive to quite negative.
Supportive from his donors, pharmaceutical
and
companies.
Negative from everyone else. Even death threats to me and members of my family. Oh, shut the fuck up with that. Everyone gets death threats in public life, jerk off. I'm a grown-up in politics. I'm a grown-up in politics, so those things I can handle. Then why did you mention them?
So wait, Jimmy, your question to him was, how are you holding up?
Ha!
I'm surprised that was your question.
Not my question, Ron.
Oh, okay.
That was not my question, Ron.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. So he goes on. It is shameful how the proponents of SB 562 have provided false hope to people who are suffering.
He's compassionate.
Oh, he really cares about the people he's denying single-payer health care to right now. See, he's the one who really cares. The people pushing for single-payer are the real jerks. You know, the nurses. The nurses are the people who don't understand this situation and are real jerks. You know who understands it? The guy who took $100,000 from pharma. That's who understands it. The guy who's in bed with the people he's supposed to be regulating. That's who understands it. Anthony Rendon understands it. These are guys lying right to your fucking face, right out in the open, and they don't care. The Democrats don't care. They're more brazen than the Republicans now.
Well, can we address for a second the whole, like, we can't pay for it argument? Because, like, here's the thing. I'm not an accountant, but didn't they already prove that we actually, even if we did nothing, we already spend more on healthcare now as a state than we would with single payer? Like, the state already spends more.
So,
correct?
Ron, the nurses already had a study commission that shows that we would save tens of billions of dollars in California if we went. Everyone knows it's more inexpensive. It's a more efficient Medicare for all, single payer.
But gentlemen,
is much more efficient. It's the most Medicare is the most efficient healthcare program in the country because they don't have overhead costs because they're not trying to fight you to give you healthcare. They just give you healthcare. So their administrative costs are somewhere around 2%. A normal health insurance company's administrative costs are somewhere around 30%.
So to me, it's like saying, hey, do you want to lease a new car that would fit everybody and would be like way better? It's $200 a month, and I don't have an extra $200 a month. I don't think I can afford that. Well, what's your car payment now? $300 a month. I mean, right? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's
like, how are people buying that bullshit that he fed them?
It's my joke. I used to have a joke. I go, that Bernie's crazy. I mean, how can we afford cheaper health care? Who's going to pay for less expensive drugs? What the F? How are you going to pay for that single payer that saves us money? Who's going to pay for it? What? We're already paying for things exactly what Ron said. Hey, I got a car payment for $300. You want one for $200? How could I afford that?
You know, I just want to add to it, but look at his statement as you continue to read it, Jimmy.
Let's read it.
He says, like, this is the SB 562 is more of a statement of a principle
than a genuine bill that he says those people are giving you false hope because SB 562 is more of a statement of a principle than a genuine bill that actually does anything to create single-payer healthcare system in California that covers anyone. Hey, then why don't you write one? If that bill doesn't do it, why don't you write a bill? Why don't you write a single-payer bill that you pretend that you claim that you're for? Because you're not for it, because you're bought. Anthony Rendon's bought, and he's a fucking liar, and we're coming at him. I'm not letting him go. We're not letting him go. You think this fucking stupid statement from you is going to stop us? You think it's going to stop the nurses? You think it's going to stop the progressives? You think it's going to stop me? It ain't. The sponsors need to decide if they are serious about... he's serious.
Oh.
He's serious. That's why he never showed you a plan for single payer. So that's how you know he's a liar. And that's how you know he's corrupt. And that's how you know Speaker Anthony Rendon needs to go. Because he's 100% corrupted and he's working against you. He's lying to you. He's gaslighting you. Oh, that's what I should have asked his press secretary. How come Anthony Rendon has never submitted a bill for single payer then that works?
I'll ask Veronica Zendejas.
Okay. So I will call, but that's a good question. I will call back. So by the way, they tweeted out this stupid letter, right? Not this response from Rendon, but this thing, that thing from the California Assembly that according to the Sacramento Bee, every Democrat in the Assembly signed on to, but according to Anthony Rendon's office, he didn't. But he put out a statement that's just as stupid. Why not sign on to it? Your statement is just as stupid. You're wagging your finger at the voters for holding your feet to the fire, for screwing them over and being in bed with the people you're supposed to be regulating, big pharma and the health insurance industry. People are holding your feet to the fire for being corrupt and working against them. So that's what that is. So after that, people at Twitter... This does not get by. So that's the thing about, thank God for social media. Here's John Amenta, the first. So after that Sacramento Bee guy tweeted out that article, this is the first tweet underneath it. It says, instead, let's just remain detestable, bribed politicians and pretend corruption is okay and gaslight anyone who doesn't go along. Yeah, so instead of bringing single payer, instead, let's just remain detestable, bribed politicians and pretend corruption is okay and gaslight anyone who doesn't go along. Because that's what that statement is. That's them being detestable, deplorable, bought, corrupted, empty politicians working against their own people and who think corruption is okay, and then they gaslight anybody who tries to hold their feet to the fire. Here's some more. Here's another one. Here's Jonathan Patrick. He says, I detest people who are bought by insurance and pharmaceutical industries who use institutional power to block advancement of single payer. I don't detest incivility in the face of that. I detest civility as a smokescreen for using institutional power to brutalize the poor. So they're using civility as a smokescreen for using institutional power to brutalize the poor. God damn well said, Jonathan Patrick. That's pretty well said,
That's very well said. And you know what? I don't know where Anthony Rendon is at this moment, but I really hope he's in France, going up to the people that live in France and telling them that they have just kind of nice principles instead of a really great healthcare system, and then seeing how often they laugh at him because they have the best healthcare in the world and they have a universal single-payer system.
Here's another reaction. Threats of violence and death are very bad. Let's get back to inflicting actual violence and death through system of healthcare for profit. So he called out your bullshit. Right, there it is. Hey, let's get back to inflicting actual violence and death through the system of health care for profit that Anthony Rendon and the Democrats stand for. I love how killing and enslaving people is okay, but using the democratic system and demanding it actually be democratic is bullying.
Nice work, Jay Elliott.
Jay Elliott, I love how killing and enslaving people is okay, but using the democratic system and demanding it actually be democratic, that's bullying. Here's one more. Stranger Together says, tone policing desperate people is the height of privilege.
That'd be a cool t-shirt.
Tone policing desperate people is the height of privilege. So when you go, hey, let's be civil about talking about not taking away your health care, that's the ultimate privilege. You have the luxury of being civil because you have health care, Anthony Rendon. MF Hayer says, California Democratic Party leadership is fighting against the people who are fighting for their lives. But remember, Anthony Rendon is the real victim. So there you go. And if you haven't read this book yet, we're living it. We're living this book. We're living this. This is how liberals pay fealty to democracy and grassroots and progressivism. And then when it comes time, they squash it. They squash democracy. They squash progressivism. And they squash single payer. That's the Democrats. But let's go listen to Keith Olbermann scream at the top of his lungs like a fucking useless idiot about how bad Donald Trump is. That's a guy who's worth $100 million fucking dollars who has no idea what's going on in the country. I know what's going on in the country. I don't live in a high-rise apartment in Manhattan around a bunch of other fucking gazillionaires. I know what's going on in the country. And what's going on in the country is people want a revolution because we see that our elected officials are really just elected corporatists elected to work against us. They're actively working against us. And when you call them out on it, you know, remember all those people who said, I'm going to vote for Hillary and then I'm going to hold her feet to the fire after the election? Doesn't stuff like this make you feel unbelievably stupid? Doesn't that's what this, because that's what, if I was you, I would. You can't even hold a fucking assemblyman to the feet to the fire, let alone a president. Barack Obama bailed out fucking equity firms who are screwing over homeowners on his way out of goddamn my office. He didn't give a shit. Tried to pass TPP till the day he got out of office. He didn't give a shit. There's no holding people's feet to the fire. Well, I'm going to vote for Hillary and then I'm going to... This is the shit you voted for. I don't think there's any reforming the Democratic Party. We need draft Bernie. We need to start a third party. And we need to goddamn do it now. Do you think this is going to win in 2018? Democrats wagging their finger at citizens who want single payer? Overwhelming. You know, 80% of people wanted public option and Barack Obama didn't give it to them on purpose. Now 60% of the country wants single payer, and it's the Democrats standing against it. I'm sorry, I'm a purist. I guess that makes me a purist, but I want a revolution. And remember what John F. Kennedy said. Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Hey, the next live Jimmy Dore show is July 17th. That's right, July 17th. That's a Monday in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right down here or go to jimmydorecomedy.com. July 17th, Burbank, California, live Jimmy Dore show.